In this video, we're going to be doing the initial setup of our regatta 13-foot bell tent from Whiteduck. We spent a ton of time researching canvas tents and figuring out what was the perfect fit for us. And we ended up choosing this one for a variety of reasons. The size is really great. I think the style is really interesting and cool. I used to live in a yurt, and so I was just really drawn to the bell tent style. We're going to be using this on my upcoming elk hunt, and the weather could be it could be snow, it could be rain, it could be warm. So we wanted to get one that was wood stove compatible, that had plenty of ventilation, and that could kind of serve us in a variety of weather conditions. In the 13-foot regatta bell tent, the kit that you receive comes with tent itself, pins for staking down the tent, J-pegs for staking down the guy lines, a rubber mallet, and then a rain cap, and that goes on top of the porch pole, and that prevents any rain from dripping down inside the tent. And that is, you can either put it just over the tent itself, or if you add the rain fly, you can stake it on top of that too. Setup with two people took us about 25 minutes, and I think it'll certainly go faster next time. We were kind of just getting everything organized and laid out and seeing what all the pieces were, because this is the first time that we've opened the bag. So 25 minutes for the first time. I think that the second, I think it'll be definitely less than 20 minutes. I think that as a solo person, you could do it within 20 minutes for sure. The regatta has a ton of different features, and so I'm just going to kind of run through them. The canvas itself is weatherproof, which is excellent, although we do add the rain fly at the end for some extra protection. It's got that rain cap that I talked about that goes on top of the pole at the door. It's got a bug mesh for the doors and the windows. A built-in stove jack, and that has 5 and 6 inch cutting guidelines for the stove. We ended up buying a stove through Amazon, and I'm going to talk about that in a separate video, so you can watch for that. But Whiteduck also offers stoves that are compatible with this, and you could, of course, cut whatever size hole you needed. It's just the pattern is there because the 5 and 6 inches are kind of the typical sizes. We've got the protective skirting that goes around the base of the tent. The floor is sewn in. That was a huge selling point for us. To not have to even think about anything being able to get inside was a huge bonus for me. We've got the anti-wick zippers. They just feel really sturdy. The vinyl flap, and that's just to protect the flooring of the tent for that door pull. The guy lines, they're super sturdy, first of all, and they're reflective, which is nice because if you've ever been camping out at night and you're tripping over it's great that they're reflective, and they're really sturdy and thick. They are attached to the tent with shock absorbing cord, and that's true as well for the stakes that you attach the tent itself to the ground. Those have shock absorbing elastic cord itself. The sliders, they're made of metal, and they're super intuitive to use. They're just sturdy, and it just tightens right up and, work how they should. There's roof vents all around the top, and those go, from the tent itself, and then those align with the rain fly should you choose to use that. And that's a nice little added ventilation in and of itself, but then if you're gonna burn in your wood stove, or if you're gonna use any appliances or whatever, having that ventilation is just a necessity. There's a little flap that you can run power to and from, so an extension cord flap basically built in, and so that's really convenient. Let's see, there's little areas or little points that you can clip things to all around the interior, as well as there's 6 pockets right to either side of the front door. So super convenient for like books or phones or headlamps, especially, or what, just whatever you need right there. Our biggest takeaway from this initial setup is unsurprising if you're familiar with wall tents. We came out to an area that's just sort of at the end of a gravel road to set this tent up, and it is so rocky. Now, because we're not planning on staying here tonight, we just kind of set it up. If you were going to sleep in it, and especially if you're going to be somewhere where you're expecting any sort of wind, you want to find somewhere where you're able to get all of the stakes in completely to the ground. Now, we hit a bunch of rocks, and like I said, we're not staying here. It's not like a permanent setup, and so we just kind of didn't want to damage the stakes too much, and so we just left them where they lie. But you can see, from where I'm at, and I'll show a closer up video, if the stakes aren't down, like the tent's not down. This is not like a freestanding tent like maybe you're used to if you're camping and just, like a pop-up tent. This is dependent on the stakes and guidelines. Like there's no, like I've had a lot of tents in the past, like 2-person tents that you can pick the entire tent up and move it and set it back down and then stake it down, just keep it in place and it'll keep its structure. That's not the case with this or, any wall tent. You need to be sure that when you're initially stretching it out, that it is tight and you're staking it down completely so that it's like at the surface, like staked down completely. And then the guy lines need to be stretched and tightened. The integrity of like the zippers and just of the shape of the tent itself is totally at risk if you're not able to do that. And so were we to be staying here tonight, we would have moved this tent over to find somewhere where there was fewer rocks or, reoriented the stakes a little bit so that we were sure everything could get down really tight. As with any tent, canvas tent or otherwise, when you're going to put it away, it's fine to pack it up and take it home, but once you get home, you need to air it out and make sure that it is 100% dry. And then you want to store it in a bag where it's not too tight, that you're forming really, really stiff creases. Like the same as with sleeping bags. You don't want them in a stuff sack all the time, compressed. You want to have them where they have room to, you don't want to be forming permanent creases. And so it's been a little bit drizzly out today as we've been setting this up. And so we're going to, get it back up in the car and then let it air out at home. And then we're going to put it back in the bag that it came with. Although this is my first setup with this tent, I'm super impressed with it. I think the quality seems great. There's nothing I don't like about it yet. It seems plenty big. We're going to set up the stove when we get home. We're going to build a couple fires in it before we actually take it out on my elk hunt, because we need to kind of A, see how it performs, and then B, you're supposed to burn fires in it a couple of times just to get, I don't know, I think there's they just say that there's coatings on it or something. You just want to burn it a couple times to get it flushed out. And so we're going to do that. And I'll do a whole video on the stove it was a huge process choosing the stove that we did. So I'm excited to share that with you, but we don't have it set up right now. I spent months researching canvas tents, and there are a ton to choose from. I'm super happy with this, and I'm really excited to see how it performs. Putting a lot of faith in this tent, and I'm really optimistic about it. This initial setup went, as well as I could have hoped, and it's everything that I thought it would be when we decided to make the purchase. If you have any questions about this tent, I would love to chat about it in the comments. I'll put a link to this specific model in the description. It is an affiliate link, however. I bought this tent with my own money, and all the opinions are 100% mine. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you being here, and I'd love to chat with you in the comments. Thank you. We'll see you next time.